Welcome to the El Hupo Show, where stories drift between worlds and forgotten moments find new life. Let's begin our journey. Let's go. And welcome back, everybody, to the El Hupo Show. And I'm your host, Mr. El Hupo, but most of you know me as Ben Stortini. So yeah, just call me Ben. I wasn't going to do this one, man. I don't know. Something happened. I just kind of was like, ain't nobody listening to this shit. You know what I mean? And it's funny too, because the podcast kind of drifted away from what the point was of it in the first place. The point of this podcast for me was to kind of let some stuff out and, not for it to be, my own, I guess you could call it my own therapy, I guess, but it was just a platform for myself to just let some stuff out. And it felt right and it felt good to do that. And the purpose of the podcast was to talk about stress, talk about anxiety, talk about the things in real life that affect us every single day. And, I am still dealing with this every single day. And I'm sure you are too, who's listening. And I wanted to try to help people and help myself in the process. And it just so happened that, I've caught myself and I found myself, I'm like, where the fuck did this podcast just go? It just went into this area of like where I just make jokes about everything. And that's a coping mechanism that I've been using since I was a kid, just to make jokes about shit and make people laugh. And it works, and I enjoy it. But at the same time, it's like I'm hiding behind that bullshit because there's stuff going on, and I gotta let that out. And the more that I suppress it, and the more that I just hide behind jokes and hide behind fake smiles and cries, or not, you know what I mean? It wears on you. So I've made a few adjustments to this podcast. I want to keep doing it, of course, because it feels right. But I'm not going to do video anymore because the video just kind of pokes at my ego. It just kind of pokes at me. So, I got to put videos up. I got to make these jokes. I got to make, no, that wasn't the point of this podcast. The point of this podcast, like I just said, was to help people deal with real life situations and stress and anxiety. And let's come to a sort of a recipe that we can work together to try to, deal with life day to day with the shit that we deal with. So I'm just going to stick to audio. No more video and no more social media. I'm done with that. I don't have the bandwidth or the capacity in my life to be on that shit. So I'm cutting that out. I'm sticking just to audio for now. And, I want to keep doing this. So I just wanted to chip away at the things that kind of it was like a sickness that entered the podcast. And I just want to clean it up and start fresh and go back to why I did this in the first place. So please mind the huge intro. Please mind that. But, that's the case. And that's where I'm at right now. So yeah, where do we go from here then? Right. So it's funny too, because I'm dealing with it. I get back to running and my running's great, but then it's like all that shit comes back. My left side, the pain comes back, and the headaches aren't so bad right now, but it actually did remind me of when all this health stuff started for me. When I became obsessed with my health, with my eating, with my, bettering the wellness, that whole thing. And it's funny that when you look back, you're like, when did I make a switch? Things in life happen where you make a switch with yourself, and, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be somebody you don't even know, or it just could be someone you know, but you're not really that close to them, right? But sometimes family members and friends, they don't have the guts or the fucking balls to say shit to you when really somebody should be saying something to you, right? So for me, it was in my early 20s. When I went into college in great shape. I came out of college a fat slob with just I would sweat just walking across the street. You know what I mean? I was smoking cigarettes constantly, just completely hooked to nicotine. Loved to drink, loved to not exercise. Didn't even know what exercise really meant anymore. It just kind of disappeared out of my mind. I loved to sleep in. I loved to party, and I was very good at it. This was just a loop, and it was all my early 20s. And I managed to get a good job at YTV Chorus Entertainment, amongst a lot of really good people there. And, you know, I was just getting just fatter and fatter and gross. And I was, you know, getting a little depressed about it. But I was like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I was eating fast food all the time, McDonald's. It was bad. And I think at one point I was up to probably well over 215 pounds. I know I've exaggerated it in the past, but I'm pretty sure I was about 220, 215, 220, just lazy. But I wouldn't say lazy. I was a 220 pound man who knew I had something in me, a drive in me, but I needed to get it pulled out. So that's a good, you know, I just mentioned, you know, that could be a family member, a friend, blah, but some people just don't have the balls to say anything, right? So there was this one day I was at work at YTV Course Entertainment, and I had to bring something down to this other department. And I knew everybody in that department. I had to bring a log, like a traffic log, down to this place called Log Prep. And in Log Prep, there was this woman named Ana Maria Consalescu, and she was straight out of Romania. I'm talking like straight out of Romania. God bless her. Loved her to death. She was a complete sweetheart. And please don't take this as any disrespect, me doing her voice. But I loved her from top to bottom. She was an amazing woman. Very, very nice, very sweet, and very honest. And every day I would bring the log down. She's like, oh, thank you, Ben. It's beautiful. Thank you for bringing me the log. Would you like to have a candy? Would you like to have a mint? Like, she would have those mints that your grandmother would give you. Remember those like big white ones? Those like really basic mints? She would give me those mints, and, you know, she would be sitting there knitting sometimes. And she wasn't even that old. She had that vibe about her, right? Real sweet. So one day, you know, going through the routine day by day, my fat ass comes down to hand her the log, and she just stops for a moment. And, you know, there actually was people in the room when she said this, actually. I was going to say there wasn't, but there was. I put the log down in front of her, and she stops knitting, and she, you know, puts a mint in her mouth and asks me if I want one. And she looks at me and she says, Ben, can I tell you something? I was like, yeah, of course, Ana Maria. What is it? She's like, you would be so handsome, Ben, you would be so handsome if you weren't so fat. I looked at her and, like, listen, I had, you know, some friends make jokes about, like, I was getting pretty big and I had like this, but it didn't, you know, laughed it off. But for somebody that I'm not really close, I've never hung out with outside of the work walls, you know, I'm not that close with, for them to be that honest and true with me, to tell me, Ben, you would be so handsome if you weren't so fat. And I looked at her, and I kind of tried to play it off, like I said at the start, you know, make a joke about it, but that shit hurt. That shit stuck so hard that I was thinking about it all day. I remember I was thinking about it all day, what she said to me. I wasn't myself all day. I was like, I gotta make a change. Like, I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. I'm like, look at you, man. I was like 24, turning 25. I was like, look at you. You need to make a fucking change. Look at you. You can't live like this the rest of your life. This is not healthy. And I said to myself, Ana Maria is right. I would be handsome, but inside and out, I would be happy. My smiles wouldn't be fake. You know, I gotta do something about this. And I remember leaving work that day, and from that day on, I went home. I didn't know what to do. I had no fucking clue. So what I did is I made some broccoli and I made some rice. And I went for a run. I lived near Trinity Bellwoods Park at the time, right by that Esso, right in one of those little streets behind the Esso near Trinity Bellwoods. And I went for a run. That day, at the end of my shift, I went for a run that day, and I just ran through Trinity Bellwoods Park and just ran for an hour or something like that, as much as my body could take. Came home, ate some broccoli and some rice, and that's when it all started. And man, it actually makes me kind of like a little bit emotional talking about that, man. Like, that was a big moment. And it may not seem like that to you, but to me, that shit was big, because it was like a moment in time where time just kind of stops and it flipped. A switch flipped. And it was a huge moment in my life, because then everything, after that was just like this new journey. And I just continued on. And as you know, anybody who's listened to this podcast already, I get obsessed with things, right? And I got obsessed with it. And so it was an everyday thing. I was like, you know what? And Maria's right. I'd be so, if I wasn't so fat, you know what I mean? I'd be, boom, 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 every day, eating broccoli, eating rice. I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? So I dropped weight real quick, and it was pretty dramatic. But at the same time, it was like, I showed myself that I could do it. I showed myself that, it's possible. So then it was, okay, well now, I'm a little floppy down here. I got to fix this shit. And it just, man, right until now, 45, I've never looked back since that day. Since that day I came home from that shift and went for that run in Trinity Bellwoods, I've never stopped. And I know she's not listening, but Anna Maria, I'm going to throw this out into the ether to you. Thank you so much for that. More people need to do that. You just need to do that. Everybody needs to be told something at some point in time in their life that it has to be real. Let's quit not being real out here, man. Everybody's so fucking soft. Everybody's too scared to say anything anymore. And sometimes the things that'll hurt are the things that are going to change you in a positive way. Because if you it's like when you ask ChatGPT a question, they're always going to be positive, because they program that shit. If it were to be negative to you, do you think you're going to go back to ChatGPT? No, probably not, because you're like, fuck this shit. It just told me I was blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Let's be real with people. Bring that shit back. Because if Anna Maria didn't tell me I would be handsome if I wasn't so fat, I'd probably be fat still and just drinking and blah, 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 because that just sparked everything as I would go, as I was getting older, as the years went by. I quit smoking. I battled that. Next thing you know, I'm at a gym, learning what I got to do in there. Next thing you know, I'm eating better, knowing what foods to eat and scheduling that into my life and changing and tweaking my routine and this, that, and reading up on it, doing my research, speaking to the OGs about it, my grandfather, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And they're soaking up all the information and just knowing that, pause that for a second. I remember, and another quote was from a friend, Harry Ty. He said this. He said that, I would go and I was buying supplements and this and that. And he's like, you know what? There's no better investment to make. No better investment than your own health. And God damn it, that's true, man. That is so true. We only live once. We only have a certain amount of hours. We only have a certain amount of days, and we only have a certain amount of summers and winters. And why waste them, deteriorating and knowing that you can do something about that. You can do something about that. Just stop. Nobody else is going to do it for you. There's no magic pill. There's no fucking movie or diagram or method to do it. Everyone's different. So you got to find what works for you. Find what works for you and dig yourself out of your hole, because nobody is going to do it. And especially now when everybody's just has forgotten how to talk to each other and forgotten how to have normal conversations with each other. Just dig yourself out of your hole. Do it yourself. Like my grandfather would wake me up in the morning when I was living with him and taught me how to be a fucking man. He's like, you know what you're doing this morning? You're going to go dig that tree out of the ground. You're going to dig right this huge ass tree. He gives me one little shovel. Says, all right, we're going to get all the roots out of here. Boom, let's get the tree out. I just looked at it and did it. Think of yourself as that tree. Dig yourself out of that dirt. All right? Because you can do it. Mental health, physical health, everything. It's all connected. You can do it. There's anybody who says you can't, they're the ones that need to get out of that dirt. Because they're upset with themselves. And it's bullshit. Man. See, this is what I wanted this podcast to be, man. Not worried about likes, not worried about clicks, not worried about all this bullshit. Real life, man, real life. We're all dealing with it, and there's things that we have to endure. There's bullets that we're gonna take. There's pain that we're going to have. There's happiness that we're going to have. Smiles and cries, man. Like from, what was that movie? Training Day. Smiles and cries, man. That's life. Ups and downs. Deal with the downs and deal with the ups. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. If you can try to find that balance, that's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find that, man. And I feel like I am starting to get a little better with that. But I have to check myself from time to time. And that's what I'm doing now. My ego jumps in, man. My ego thinks I'm so fucking funny. You know, oh my God, that Tommy Hilfiger story is hilarious. Look, maybe it is to a few people, but who cares? It's not benefiting anybody. That story is not going to make somebody better. And the point of this podcast is to better people. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to help myself. And that's what we're going to go back to, man. So Anna Maria, thank you. I know you're probably not listening. Well, I know you're not listening. But Anna Maria, I'm going to throw it out there. Thank you so much for telling me that, because you really put me, you know, it was a crossroads and you put me on the right path. Speaking of right path, I'm all about my health right now, all about trying to get better, healing. You know, I went to physio twice. Thought, like I told you last episode, I thought I re-ruptured my bicep. I didn't. He told me what to do. I'm healing with that. Went to physio for my left side. I have a bust up hamstring on my left side, so my quad and my TFL is taking all the brunt of all my running, so it causes this pain which runs up here and, you know, does a bunch of other shit. So dealing with that. I made an acupuncture. I've never done this before. I'm doing some acupuncture next week to see if that can help with the headaches, which the headaches are pretty good. But every time I say that, boom, something happens. So, but it's funny too with acupuncture that I learned that headaches start from the feet in Chinese medicine. So they put acupuncture in your feet. I'm like, that makes so much sense. I do 5,000 plus kilometers in 2 years. I've beat the fuck out of myself in my feet. Of course I'm gonna get some. If that shit's true, if headaches start from your feet in acupuncture, then yeah, that makes sense. It probably is coming from my feet. So we're gonna see if the acupuncture is gonna help. I'm gonna do that next Friday, and I've brought in fasting again, but only 4 days a week at 17 hours fast. So I start eating at 2:00 and I end at 9. And the other days I'm still eating, and the other 3 days I'm doing the meals that I spoke about, the one before the gym, the one after the gym, blah 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 blah, and that's doing me really good. I'm maintaining a good weight of around 185 pounds right now, and that's where I want to be. I feel good, I look good, and that's, you know, and when I say I look good, my confidence, I look good inside. I can see it. I can feel it. And it's not just about, you know, what I see in the mirror. It's what I feel inside. It's like those bullshit fake jokes I would make, hiding behind those jokes. What I'm doing, I want to be completely real with myself, if that makes any sense. In this healing process, I have to sit there and be completely honest with whoever I'm talking to, and anybody. It doesn't even matter if it's health practitioners. It's everybody. Be completely honest and don't hide behind your guards, because that's what I was hiding behind with my arm. So the guy's like, you're guarding it. Well, I'm probably guarding everything in my life. That's why I'm so tight. I just gotta like calm down, release, and let this, I guess, negative energy or just pent up tightness just go. And that goes mentally, physically, everything. You know, as an entity, I just need to decompress and heal at the same time. So yeah, just want to end this little rant, and I hope you can take something out of that, because I just took something out of that. So let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to the point of this podcast. Let's switch worlds. I want to give a shout out to my kids. give a shout out to my two beautiful kids. I'm gonna leave it at that. I love you two to death. And as much as I get stressed out, as much as it's heavy duty with two kids, it's a lot. I love you two to bits. And yeah, I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna work on my patience. I'm gonna work on all of that, and just, you know, chip away at that, and just be the best dad that I can be. Essentially, that's what the point of all life is. If you end up with kids, to be the best that you can. Do the best that you can. All right, we're back. So we're gonna do the Hoopoverse. We're still gonna do the Hoopoverse because the point, you know, that came episode 1. I mean, music, documentaries, and challenges, they do help me in stressful moments and in life, right? So there's things in life that calm you down. So these 3 things, they calm me down. So we're actually gonna start with a documentary, but you know what? I'm gonna flip it this week to a book that I read that they better make a movie out of this, but this book is called American Dirt, and I wish I forget the author's name, but it's called American Dirt. Look it up. It's about the cartels in Mexico and the aftermath of just the violence that happens. So this book is about a family in Acapulco that the father he was a journalist for a local newspaper, and he did a big story on this cartel in Acapulco and the cartel leader. Basically, this story got out to the cartel leader's daughter, who was away for school, and the daughter didn't know and ends up killing herself. And the cartel leader just lost his mind because of this, and essentially went and killed this journalist's entire family. But the mother and the son, so 16 people all died at a barbecue, basically. But the mother and the son, they escaped. And the story is of the mother and the son doing the migrants' journey in Mexico that migrants do every single day to try to escape Mexico and get to the States, and as fast and as quick as they can. So it's the whole adventure, the whole journey of jumping on the trains, hiding out in these cities, and the getting robbed and getting kidnapped and getting, you know, extorted and everything in between. And this book just doesn't stop. Like it just holds you until you fall asleep. It's incredible. So please look it up. And if I can make a suggestion to the Trump administration, to the current administration in the United States of America, who just makes migrants look like filth, you read this book. Read this book, all right? Because they're not all just rapists. They're not all criminals. They're not all drug dealers. There's people that can't go back. Because if they go back, they're gonna get killed. So what would you do for your kids? Or your family, or yourself, or your betterment, or your family? What would you do? Well, you would do anything possible to survive. And if it takes traveling on top of a bus, going through some tunnels, and coming into a country illegally just to survive, well, I would do that too. So, hey, Donnie Trump, take a look at the book American Dirt and take that shit into your veins. The music. All right, the music. Well, the music this week, I had no idea what music I was going to pick, but it's a corrido. It's so we're going to stick in Mexico. So this is Santo Jesus Malverde, and he is the saint in Sinaloa that basically he was one of the first he's like the real Robin Hood. So way back in the day, he would, you know, the money he would make illegally, however he was making his money, he would give back to the community. And he died, he passed away, but he is looked upon, and there's statues of him in Sinaloa that he's like a saint down there. And so I was like, well, there's got to be a corrido about him. So I checked Spotify, and sure enough, and I found this tune right here. It's by Los Cadetes de Linares, and it's called Jesus Malverde. So Man, so look that shit up. Los Cadetes de Linares, so LOSCADETESDELINARES, Jesus Malverde. And take that in. For the challenge, my challenge is so simple this week. Get off social media. Let me tell you, I've been off of it for a couple of days now fully, and speaking of which, I'm not going to be back on Instagram for a while. I'm not doing that stuff. Like I said, I don't have the capacity or bandwidth to handle that stuff because I just don't want to. And I know that it's not good for you. So my challenge for you is whoever's listening to this, if anyone's actually listening to this, get off social media, and take that needle out of your arm, man, because it's not good for you. It's just not good for you. You're wasting a lot of brain energy on it. You're wasting a lot of yourself in it. You're unconsciously comparing yourself to others, which is not healthy. You are being spit at with so much advertisements because it's funny. It's not just listening to you. It knows what you're looking at, in ChatGPT. It knows what you're searching, and next thing you know, there's sunglasses being thrown at you. There's certain videos that correspond to something that you were searching. Like, it's wild, and they've figured it out. So we all know this already, but like, to pull yourself out of it and then like, oh wow, yeah, that's gross. So pull yourself out of social media, man, and give yourself a break. If anything, like, go back to it if it's part of your business. Go back to it if I'm not trying to say forever. I am gonna try because it's just not good. It's not good for me, and that's just me. So that's my challenge. No social media. Documentary this week is a book. Look up American Dirt. It's incredible. It's one of those, like, I would actually read it again. They better make a movie out of that shit. And the music is the Corrido for Jesus Malverde, the Saint of Sinaloa. The real Robin Hood. Gonna end it at that. Yeah, this felt a lot better than the other ones. There's no bullshit. I'm not putting a filter on this anymore. I'm not gonna hide behind some jokes. I'll make jokes still when they feel right, but this is where we're at. So if you're listening, you're listening. If you're not, you're not. I'm throwing this out to the ether still because it feels good for me. And I hope if anyone is listening, that needs a little bit of a pickup, let's pick each other up and let's do this together. And I hope maybe you took something out of this episode, that maybe can help just a little bit change your life. So until next week, enjoy your weekend. And I really appreciate those that are still listening. And I'm going to continue to do this. All right? Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening or watching this episode. It means a lot, genuinely. And remember, new episodes come out every single Friday. Please hit subscribe wherever you're catching this pod, whether it's Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, which I'm pausing on YouTube for a bit. And please hit that 5-star review. You know what? I'm not even going to ask you to hit the 5-star review. Fuck all this shit. How about this? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, and don't forget. Oh, please don't forget. I love you.